Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into another book.
Always excited for a new deep dive. What are we tackling today?
Today it's Transform in 21.
By Molaboging Matip Willie. I've heard good things.
Yeah, it's all about reaching your goals in just 21 days.
That's ambitious.
Right. But it's structured around these daily challenges so it's not as overwhelming as it sounds.
I see. So it's like taking action right away instead of just reading theory.
Exactly. And Mola Boging, they're all about empowering people, helping them reach their full potential.
Makes sense. So someone picks up this book, they're looking for practical guidance, not just feel-good fluff.
Totally. And the book covers a lot of ground. Like, there are 13 chapters on everything from goal setting to managing distractions, stress, even specific things like emails.
Wow, that's quite comprehensive. So it's not just work focus, it's life management too.
Yeah, it's a really holistic approach. Like, not just working harder, but smarter and taking care of yourself in the process.
That's important. So where does it all begin?
Well, chapter 1 dives right into setting goals and priorities.
Classic starting point. Got to have a direction before you can, well, transform.
Right. And it starts strong with this idea of SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound.
SMART goals. I've heard that acronym thrown around a lot. Does Molaboging offer a fresh perspective on them?
Yeah, it's not just about the acronym itself, but like why they're so crucial.
True. Just saying make it measurable doesn't really help unless you understand why.
Exactly. Like, if your goals are vague or unrealistic, you're setting yourself up to fail,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Vague goals, vague results, as they say.
So SMART goals provide a framework for setting attainable goals.
And that can be super motivating. When you see those wins, even small ones, it keeps you going.
Totally agree. And the book goes beyond just setting goals. It also talks about breaking them down into smaller steps.
That's key. I can get overwhelmed by big long-term goals. But if it's a series of mini goals, much more manageable.
Right. Instead of looking at this huge mountain, you've got these stepping stones.
Makes a big difference mentally. So you've got the SMART goals, breaking them down. What else is in Molaboging's arsenal?
Oh, there's also the Eisenhower matrix for prioritizing tasks.
Interesting. I'm familiar with it, but for our listeners who aren't, could you give a quick rundown?
Sure. So you categorize tasks based on how urgent and how important they are.
So it's not just about what's screaming loudest, but what truly needs attention.
Exactly. Helps you focus on what matters and not get bogged down by less important things.
That's valuable. So many distractions these days, it's easy to lose sight of the big picture.
And what's cool is Molaboging has you write down both short-term and long-term goals on day 1 of the challenge.
Wow, so it's like a commitment right from the start, putting pen to paper, solidifying those goals.
Yeah, like signing a contract with yourself.
Love that analogy. It's a
Exactly.
powerful psychological act, It makes it real.
Okay, moving on to chapter 2. It's all about creating a productive routine.
Ooh, routines. Essential for consistency, but also something people can get really rigid about. What's Molaboging's approach?
Well, there's a big emphasis on time blocking.
Time blocking, that's a popular one these days. Instead of just reacting to whatever pops up, you proactively schedule your day.
Exactly. So you're not just constantly putting out fires, but actually making progress on what matters.
I like that. It's about taking control instead of letting the day control you.
Right. What I find interesting is a whole week in the 21-day plan is dedicated to establishing a morning routine and figuring out your peak productive hours.
Oh, that's smart. Not just scheduling randomly, but understanding your own energy levels, working with your natural rhythms.
Yeah, that's something I personally struggle with, so I'm really interested in seeing how this 21-day challenge can help me with that, like actually establish a routine that works.
It can be a game changer, knowing when you're at your best and planning accordingly.
Now let's talk distractions and burnout. It's like the elephant in the room, right? Everyone struggles with it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world, it's constant. Chapter 3 tackles that, right?
Hmm.
Managing distractions and burnout.
Yep. And Molaboging has some interesting strategies. There's things like website blockers, noise-canceling headphones.
Makes sense. The tech tools can be helpful.
And even learning to say no, like setting boundaries, protecting your time and energy.
That's huge GE.
Yeah.
It's so easy to overcommit, then feel resentful and burnt out. Does Molaboging give specific advice on saying no?
Well, the 21-day challenge for this chapter is all about identifying your personal distractions.
So it's personalized, not just a blanket do this, do that, but figuring out what your traps are.
Yeah, and then coming up with strategies to minimize them.
That's a much more effective approach. So you get SMART goals, time blocking, managing distractions, feeling more productive already.
Haha, almost. But it does feel like Mullaboging's laying the groundwork for a solid productivity system.
Absolutely. It's not just random tips. There's a structure here.
Yeah.
What comes next in building this system?
Well, chapter 4 gets into managing time and energy, and that's where we encounter the Pomodoro technique.
Ah, the Pomodoro. Classic. Have you tried it before?
I've heard of it, but never actually put it into practice. Is it really as effective as everyone says?
It can be, especially for tasks that require, like, deep focus. It's all about working in those bursts of 25
So
minutes.
you work for 25 minutes, then take a short break, then repeat.
Yeah, and after every 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break.
I see. So it's like built-in breaks to refresh your mind?
Prevents mental fatigue and helps you maintain focus. What I find interesting is the 21-day challenge for this chapter has you track your time and the energy levels throughout the day.
Oh, that's smart. So you're not just scheduling blindly, but based on when you're actually most productive.
Right. If you know you're a morning person, schedule your toughest tasks then.
That makes so much sense. Work with your body, not against it. So far, we've got goals, routines, distractions, energy. It's a lot.
It's just a lot, but all interconnected, building towards something bigger.
You're right. So what else does Mullaboging have in store for us?
Well, Chapter 5 is all about building productive habits. This is where it moves from just techniques to creating lasting change.
Okay, so it's not just about willpower then. It's about building systems that support you even when motivation dips.
Exactly. Mollaboging provides strategies for establishing those routines that
Mhm.
stick.
Ooh, I need that. I can be good at starting strong, but then things fizzle out.
Well, remember those practical tips. Start small, focus on one habit at a time.
Oh yeah, using visual reminders, setting up accountability.
All those things help.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of support. Having someone to share your goals with, that can make a huge difference.
I agree, like having a cheerleader in your corner. So we've got these habits. Anything else standing out to you about this chapter?
I think the key takeaway is it's about building a solid foundation for long-term productivity, not just short bursts of effort.
I love that. Laying the groundwork, making it sustainable. Okay, we're only on chapter 5 and we've covered so much.
Yeah, we've barely scratched the surface of Transform in 21. Still so much more to explore.
All right, welcome back everyone. Hope you're ready for more because we're just getting started with Transform in 21.
Lots more to uncover, that's for sure.
So last time we were talking about all those chapters that dive into specifics like meetings, emails, all that. But there's one I'm especially curious about, the one on stress and burnout.
Yeah, that's chapter 11, right? Managing stress and burnout.
That's the one. Feels super relevant, doesn't it? Like, who doesn't struggle with that these days?
Aye. It's almost unavoidable. So what's Mullaboging's take on it?
Well, big emphasis on self-care and setting boundaries, which, honestly, I need to get better at.
Oh, same here. Easy to say, harder to do, especially in a world that's always on.
Exactly. It's like you get caught up in the hustle and forget to take care of yourself.
And then you hit that wall hard. Mullaboging's point is you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Got to refill your own well to be productive.
Makes sense. So what are some of the actual strategies? Like, how do we manage this stress?
Well, first step is recognizing the signs of burnout, right? Are you exhausted all the time? Irritable? Can't focus?
Oh, yeah, I know those signs all too well. But what about when you're already there? Like, already burnt out? What then?
Good question. Mullaboging offers a bunch of strategies, from simple stuff like deep breathing, getting out in nature,
Those are always good.
right? And then there's more structured stuff like meditation, mindfulness practices.
I've been meaning to try that, but, time.
It's finding that time, carving it out, which is where all those other productivity skills come in, I guess.
True. And I really liked the part about building a support network, like having people you can talk to, vent to.
Huge. It's so easy to isolate when stressed, but that just makes it worse.
Exactly. Connecting with others, that's so important. Makes you realize you're not alone in this.
Speaking of connecting, what about Chapter 12, Managing Productivity and Motivation? That's a tricky one.
Yeah, motivation can be so up and down. Like, I'll have these bursts of energy, then I hit a wall, and it's like, oh.
I feel that. Mullaboging seems to get that. The 21-day challenge here focuses on stuff like setting clear intentions, breaking tasks down.
Makes them less daunting, right?
Exactly. And using positive self-talk to stay encouraged.
Oh, that's so important. It's like being your own cheerleader instead of your own worst critic.
Exactly. And there's also stuff about creating the right work environment.
Makes sense. Like, if my desk is a mess, my mind feels messy too.
It's all connected, right? Environment, mindset. So Chapter 13, the essential practices one. What stood out to you there?
The fact that it includes physical health, Like Mulbagan gets that it's not all about work, work, work.
It's holistic, like we said at the start.
Right.
Can't be productive if you're running on fumes physically.
Right. So exercise, healthy diet, sleep, all that good stuff. But honestly, finding time for it all can feel impossible.
That's where the time management skills we discussed earlier come in handy. It's about choices, being intentional.
Instead of scrolling on my phone, maybe I go for a walk. Small shifts, big impact.
Exactly. And remember, small changes are key. Don't have to overhaul your whole life overnight.
That's reassuring, makes it less overwhelming.
Molaboging even talks about using technology to our advantage. There are apps for tracking sleep, for reminding you to move.
Oh, I've actually been using a sleep tracking app lately. It's been kind of eye-opening.
See? Tech isn't always the enemy.
Definitely not. Oh, and what about work-life balance? That's a hot topic these days.
Always is. Molebooking's big on setting boundaries, like clear work hours, turning off notifications when you're off.
So hard to do, though.
It is, but important. Separating those parts of life so you can be fully present in each one.
So it's not just about being efficient. It's about designing a life that works.
I think that's a great way to put it. Transform in 21 is about more than just checking things off a to-do list.
It's about becoming the best, most productive version of yourself. I like that.
Yeah, too. So we've covered stress, motivation, health, balance. It's a lot.
It's a lot, but I feel like we're starting to see the bigger picture now.
The pieces are fitting together. And there's still more to come.
All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive, Transform in 21. It's been quite a journey.
It has. Lots of great stuff in this book.
You know, one thing that's really stuck with me is the focus on mindset. Like, it's not just about the techniques, it's your attitude, too.
Oh, absolutely. Molebogging actually dedicates a whole chapter to developing a growth mindset.
Yeah.
Chapter 13.
I was just going to say there's a whole chapter on that, right?
And it's crucial for long-term success. Growth mindset, it's all about embracing challenges.
So instead of getting discouraged, you see setbacks as opportunities to learn.
Exactly. Those roadblocks become stepping stones.
Yeah.
And that resilience, it helps with so much more than just productivity.
Makes sense. It's about how you approach life in general.
And it connects back to that self-care idea. When you take care of yourself, you build that resilience.
So it's like a positive feedback loop. You take care of yourself, you handle challenges better, you feel more capable.
Exactly. And speaking of building things up, I wanted to circle back to building productive habits for a sec. Chapter 5.
Oh, yeah, good one. Because it's one thing to know these strategies, but actually doing them day after day.
That's where the habits come in. It takes it beyond just willpower.
Which we all know can be pretty unreliable.
For sure. So remember those tips for building habits. Starting small, focusing on one at a time.
Yeah, using reminders, having some accountability.
Yeah.
Molebogging lays it all out.
And it's those little consistent changes that make a difference over time.
Like compound interest, but for your life.
Love that. And don't forget to celebrate those small wins. It's easy to get caught up in the big goals and miss those little victories.
True. Gotta acknowledge the progress. Keep that momentum going.
Right. So as we wrap up Transform in 21, I think the biggest takeaway is productivity is not a destination.
It's a journey, right? Always evolving.
Exactly. It's about learning, growing, adapting. And what works for one person might not work for another.
That's important to remember. There's no one right way.
So experiment. Find what clicks for you. Adapt these strategies to fit your life, your goals.
Okay, so final thought for our listeners. If they only remember one thing from this whole deep dive, what should it be?
Tough one. But I'd say remember that real change takes time.
It's those small steps done consistently.
And be patient with yourself. Celebrate the wins, big or small.
You got it. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Transform in 21. We hope you found some inspiration here. And hey, what small change will you make today to boost your productivity and create a more fulfilling life? Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.